Hello and welcome, heroes, to the Crit Academy. I am your host, Justin.
I'm your co-host, Austin.
And I'm your co-host, Ian. We hope to inspire you with creative content you can bring with you on your next adventure.
That's me.
That's you.
We want to thank you guys for joining us here today at Crit Academy Studios, where everything's made up and your roles don't matter.
Yep, that's right. Your roles are like a world of villains without superheroes.
Yeah.
That's a horrible world.
Shoot, I watched like DuckTales yesterday, and during the Darkwing Duck episode, it's like, I am a superhero in a city with no villains. It's a fun sound.
DuckTales, that's funny. I haven't seen that show in years.
I'm doing the 2017 series. It's actually pretty good. But anyway.
They remade it?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. All right, I'm really excited for today's show. We are going to be talking superheroes in your 5th edition D&D game. I am super stoked to talk about this. This is something we've been working on for many, many months, and to discuss Capes and Crooks with you is something I'm super stoked about. But before all that, I'd like to take a minute to let everyone know that our Memorable Monsters is now available in PDF, softcover, and hardcover. You can head on over to critacademy.com into our store section, and you can find the PDF there or a link to the soft and hardcover. I want to thank everyone that backed it. If you don't know, Memorable Monsters is 50 unique monsters for your stories and campaigns. They are fully fleshed out backgrounds, complex motives, ideals, bonds, and flaws. To us, monsters are more than just stat blocks, and with this awesome resource, not only can you have interesting and engaging NPCs and villains in your world, but it'll save prep time in doing so. You can pull them right out of the book. We give you a multitude of ways to utilize them, from a merchant to a villain to an informant to even an ally. So it's definitely something we're super proud of, and hopefully you will check it out. Head on over to critacademy.com and check it out. Before we move on to our main topic, we do like to start off every episode on a high note, and we do that by giving away fat loots to you, our audience.
Yeah. Excuse me. And our first RPG Fat Loot giveaway today is the Cliffs of Moher from Kiwi Publishing. The Cliffs of Moher, yeah, this has the little two dots over it. I didn't notice that beforehand. Is a 4 to 5 session adventure for 8th to 10th level characters designed around a series of mysterious and ever-changing portals. Caught up in the mayhem, the party is sent tumbling through time and space to remote and unique locations as they battle to find their way out of the interdimensional maze. That sounds awesome. But our winner today is Laura Katzensteiner. Congratulations. Hopefully you get out of the maze. I will wish you the best, because I would not, knowing how this table operates. But if you didn't win, don't worry. That means you're not stuck in a maze. But on top of that, you can head over to critacademy.com and subscribe for your chance to win. It's super easy. It's free. That's the big part. And you never know. You might win this maze.
Yes, it's a very cool product. I enjoyed reading through it. So, all right, let's move on to our main topic, Capes and Crooks, a superhero 5th edition game for your D&D, Dungeons & Dragons game. I'm super excited for this. As I said, we have been working on it for almost, I don't know, I think I started it late last year, or mid to late last year, but a lot of work goes into this. I'm super stoked because this is our upcoming Kickstarter, that releases on June 29th of this month. And while we are kickstarting it, because there's still a lot more to do, we do have a good starter pack that obviously my players have been playtesting and stuff, and that's been a lot of fun. And really, I just wanted to delve into the superhero genre. I was a big fan of Mutants and Masterminds, and Gamma World, which is more post-apocalyptic, but a lot of good stuff out there. And I really wanted to take my favorite game series and turn it into a superhero one. So.
Absolutely. So, I guess to start things off, what is Capes and Crooks?
Well, that's a really good question. So, The world of Capes and Crooks is a place of science, technology, evolution, and even some lost magics. In it, there's going to be, vigilante heroes, dangerous villains, heroic moments that are always present. And it begins with a basis in a semi-futuristic, I think the term is coined as ultra-modern world, and it adds splashes of advanced technologies, monstrous creatures, and places and powers that really make the Capes and Crooks world of Terra distinct. The one thing I really wanted to do with it is I like superheroes, but I also like the ones that come from technology. So I felt that setting it in the future was a better idea, because then we can get away with, having superheroes that aren't just necessarily superpowered themselves, but like Batman or Iron Man get their power from the access to technology that they have. What really... Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that would even make it a little more believable that, these people have these sort of things as commonplace, because technology is so advanced now that it's almost like mass produced, so everyone can have these like anti-gravity grappling hooks, like, and stuff like that. Like, it's always fun to mess with.
Yeah. And what's really cool about Terra is that the world is just recently awoken to superheroes. The event called The Rise basically is 20% of the population all of a sudden found themselves with gifts. And the world doesn't really know how to deal with that. So there's a lot of political issues going on in dealing with people that can fly and melt buildings with their mind and throw trucks with, their, a boot kick, And so the world hasn't had time to get used to the fact that there are these super beings, we call them deviants, out there. A set of handcuffs isn't going to hold somebody with super strength or somebody that can, elongate or stretch. Yeah, right? Yeah. And so when you're playing Capes and Crooks, the idea is that you're going to be dealing with the sides effects of the world trying to develop a way to deal with them. And that's what I really think sets it apart from other superhero worlds. The biggest thing, though, is being a hero is still against the law. It's not something that is accepted because heroes fail. You guys learned this in the playtest, didn't you? The side effects of being a hero. Do you guys got any specific examples you wanted to share?
You first, Austin.
Okay. So within our first few sessions of of Capes and Crooks, we actually kind of immediately found out what it was and what it took to what being a hero meant, when we all kind of converged and actually went at this kind of as vigilantes. And what really, I guess, sold the idea that this was really against the law and it wasn't meant to be a socially accepted thing was when we actually failed to catch the villain the first time at a bank robbery. And it would have all been okay if heroes had not intervened, because we made a negative stigma towards all of the the public, essentially, because we would, since people had seen that we got involved in the situation and the bad guy got away, it wasn't the police's fault that the bad guy got away. It was the intervention of this third party that the police couldn't contain, that no one could contain, that allowed them to get away. Because that's how the public is going to see it. That's how all the reporters are going to see it. That's how they're going to write it down. And that was the big thing that really kind of sold that, we're kind of good guys, but the world doesn't view us as good guys.
Yeah, very much. They view you. What is it in the Spider-Man comics? They've got the Daily Bugle, who basically constantly says Spider-Man's a menace. That's kind of, there's a culture in the world that believes that you're only making it worse, even though the heroes are actively trying to do something nice and trying to use their powers for right. You don't start off a perfect successful hero. You're going to make mistakes, and that's what some of the world is focusing on. And so because of that, it's still against the law. And you guys got to experience that firsthand, that, hey, these people may not have died if we would have just left them alone, which was very intriguing. So that was a really good example. That's the other thing that focuses. Go lay down, Buck. That's the thing that Capes and Crooks focus on as well, is public opinion. That's something you're going to have to deal with, and revealing your true identity to anybody and revealing it is going to cause you a lot of problems because you're still breaking the law. Ian, did you have anything?
I mean, kind of going off that, yeah, first adventure have unfolded better, like, given, like, the game style you went with, had we left the situation alone, because otherwise, either way, let's be real here, the villain would have gotten away unless we rolled really absurdly high on insight, but the difference is, had we not intervened, no hostage would have died.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Definitely sets a tone.
And
Without question.
that's a big part of, like, Cobalt City, because you've got the police who do the law enforcement, but when Vane built all the cities, Cobalt City, Diamond, when they built all these cities around the world to draw the deviants in, they put their own policing force out there that are specifically designed to deal with deviants and superpowered people. And this is a problem for heroes because the DRT aren't going to care if you're on one side or the other, and they're going to try to capture you regardless. So, but that's really, I think, what sets, Capes and Crooks apart from a lot of the other superhero RPGs.
Very good.
Why did you choose going with that edition as a basis instead of another RPG core system, or making one from scratch?
That's actually a really good question. So originally, I actually had considered doing like my own RPG setting, but the more I thought about it, I believe that 5th edition was already well designed to be able to fit across a multitude of genre types without needing much changing. Don't get me wrong, there is some changing that needed to be done to make it feel super, but the system was already well defined. I knew the system really well, and since, RPGs have never been more popular, specifically D&D has never been more popular, it made sense to take that model and expand upon it. Because if there's one thing I've learned over my years of being a role player, it's harder to get people into another RPG when they're already playing one. So from a business standpoint, it made sense to say, okay, well, you don't have to know any of the other rules. If you know 5e, you can easily jump into this and use it. And because it's 5th edition compatible, a DM could even include this into their setting if they so desired. And that makes it that much easier for people to change genres without having to change systems. And since 5th edition was the most popular, it just made the most sense. And all of our content creation, all my understanding has pushed into 5th edition. But that has allowed me to... I did make changes. I'm going to set that right out there. There's some stuff that needed to change to make it feel more like a superhero, but they were very minor in the grand scheme of how many rules there are. So...
Also, I just want to add on to that, creating your own system and making sure it's cohesive and it works and it all functions nominally in terms of like game design is very daunting in any capacity.
Right.
Even when you're taking inspiration from other things, it is still incredibly hard, and without a lot of proper testing, and trying to make things break on like a on a mechanical and like even trying to like destroy the framework of the game with the rules that you have set, like matters. So using 5th edition, which is already a pretty versatile rule set in general, it really does kind of segue very easily into this, I would imagine.
Yeah, and Wizards of the Coast releasing the SRD, which basically says, here, you can use all of this gives you a great starting point. And
Yes.
you can see that in our Capes and Crooks, because a lot of the powers that are in the SRD have made their way into Capes and Crooks, because once again, it gives you a good jumping off point. The most notable is the barbarian features. That just makes for a perfect Hulk style brutish character. So there's an archetype called the Brute that has some of those core mechanics in it. So so that was something that really was, I struggled with it. Like I said, I wanted to create this game, and I did look at other systems. I looked at Palladium, I think is what it's called. I looked at Savage Worlds. Worlds, I was really close to going with Savage Worlds instead of 5th edition, but there was already a lot of superhero Savage Worlds
Stuff out there.
yes, so I decided that I would go for where there's a potentially a
I
bigger
mean,
market.
shoot, there's actually a first-party core rulebook for Savage Worlds.
Yep.
And that's
I
not
did
even
not know
counting all the third-party support
Right.
that it got.
Yep, and that's part of why I ended up going with 5th edition. Plus, honestly, I just love the 5th edition rule set. So
Fair enough. What makes it? What makes it different from a normal 5e D&D game aside from the setting, right? Because we obviously can see
Right.
that it's with superheroes in a futuristic society, sure, but what beyond that?
Good question. I actually have a PDF pulled up right now that I'm gonna make show up on the screen just to give you an idea. Just keep in mind that this is very early content. I see George is in chat is asking about, is there going to be some sample content in a PDF released? Right now, our plan is to have sample sets go to our backers, but it'll be actually a full playtest. Where we've basically what we've been playing with, and so that'll be available for backers, because right now the playtest group is only going to be like 10 players, so we want to expand that, and the best way to do that was for backers. That way it's not considered a published product, because we don't know what changes it'll undergo. But I'm going to go ahead and pop up the PDF up on screen here. So the one thing I want to talk about first is the origins. In D&D, they've already got a tool for this. We call them races, right? And I wanted something that separated the heroes beyond just their basic powers, right? So we developed the origins. So we took the concepts of the races and changed them so that they are origins of where a person's power might come from. In our playtesting, I think Matt, his came from lightning strike, so he ended up having the freak accident origin, which basically he came up with this whole string of these chance events that happened and led to him, becoming Chimera and being able to, shoot lightning from his hands. So in this one, you can see that we have the freak accident gives you the ability to increase 2 of your different ability scores. It determines your languages. You get an innate skill, and then you get an innate power. And that's very much in line with like a human variant for feats, except this one they get a level superpower instead of a feat, which is pretty potent. Now it does have a long rest before you can use it again, but that basically just gives you a power that doesn't count against your other stuff, so it offsets it a little bit, and it feels customizable. In the same token, we have the Beastmen, right? Which is somebody that's a hybrid of some sort of animal, however you want to do it. Whether you want to play like a werewolf, or maybe you want to play an owlbear, I guess. You could totally just do that with the Beastman traits, and then you pick one of several options of your bestial origin. One increases armor, one makes you more agile, the other one gives you keen senses, or natural weapons. But once again, it's like the races that makes it more versatile depending on which one you want to pick, right? Some of the
You're gonna notice a lot in this that versatility is the name of the game in this, not necessarily specialization.
yes, and I'm gonna be running a game for the guys from One Shot Onslaught soon, and they texted me and said this is the most fun I've had making a character ever during character creation. I was like, man, y'all should have recorded that, because I would have loved to hear it. They were super excited, and that made me excited. What did you guys think about the character creation process? Because I think that's way different than 5e.
For me, at least, I thought like some areas I would have liked to be more in depth weren't, but vice versa. But overall, though, I definitely had quite a bit of fun, especially, and I think you have a lot more options compared to like the core 5th edition D&D game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or
As
rather,
like-
oh, sorry, go ahead.
As you were saying, what you were trying to move away from archetypes, and as a result, you kind of made a lot more of the features you would get from archetypes into like enhancements or abilities and so forth, which in many ways opened it up.
Yeah, and
More options.
And that's the big thing. Like, I have there's one hero table. The advancement table is the same for all heroes. At level 1, you get a roll power, depending on which roll you pick. Then you get to pick 2 at wills of the, like, 60 plus that are there. You get,
There's a lot.
There's a known power, so I think you know 2. I can right there. You know 2, and then you get 1 power slot at level 1, and then 1 enhancement. And then as you get stronger, you get more of those, and you can swap them out if you want. And as you evolve, you get these more unique development options for your character, which is what I wanted. I wanted something where somebody could go, okay, I want to fill a role. I want to play somebody like Iron Man, so I'm going to pick the exosuit. But I'm not limited to powers based on the exosuit. The exosuit gives you certain powers, but then you can get powers on top of it. Because one thing that I always liked is some heroes have many powers. Superman is a great example. He's got flight, he's got speed, he's got strength, he's got laser eyes, he's got cold breath. I mean, he has all these different features tied into one person, and that's kind of what I wanted to replicate. And by giving options to the players to pick those, it just it kind of allowed me to tackle that. I'm trying to think. So I guess I kind of jumped into the two questions there. So the other thing is we mentioned rolls. The rolls are a very core set of powers. In this case, I'll pick something besides the brute. Let's go with, actually I want to go with the gadgeteer because that's my favorite right now. We'll do jumper. Jumper's fun. So here we have the jumper. This is a character all about teleportation. So everything that comes with this role has to do with teleportation. One of the powers is flicker, which as a bonus action allows you to teleport. And then this character gets double the teleport range because that's what they specialize in it. So if a jumper picks up flicker, or gets flicker, and somebody else picks up flicker, the jumper is still going to be better at it. That's just part of the core of being a jumper or a teleporter or whatever right now that's what we're calling it. They also get some bonuses, so when they teleport behind somebody, they get advantage on their next attack, which encourages them to jump around between enemies. And of course, those evolve into mass teleportation and transposition, swapping places with people, and all kinds of cool stuff like that. But what I really want to talk about is, well, I think that's really what separates it from a normal D&D game. I think. I don't think I missed anything, did I?
No, not really. I mean, you kind of tackled the main stuff. Honestly, you should really look at these roles. They look like classes, but honestly, think of them as just giant scaling enhancements. That's what you should think of them as. They give you a bunch of stuff. They do not mean you have to specialize in that stuff at all. They are just there and they scale with you.
One good example of during the playtest game that we played, both me and Austin both played crime fighters.
Yes.
We made completely different characters.
Yes.
That was a really cool thing to see, how different they were.
Like, he focused more on like the martial arts aspect and trying to do ninja-esque stuff, and I was like, yeah, I can like run in and hit people, sure, but also I have magic powers and I can fly. So it was two very different things that ended up happening, which was very cool.
Ninja versus demon. That's a really good way to describe it.
Pretty
there,
much, yeah.
Wolf. The other thing is we still do have backgrounds, but instead of backgrounds, they're called alter egos, right? So the different alter egos, just like backgrounds, give you a collection of different powers, whether it's the average Joe, the lawyer, the businessman, the reporter. There's a collection of them that give you access to new skills. I did change the skills. There's no more history or arcana. It's just lore. Or wait, history, arcana, no, lore, arcana, and religion might be lore actually. I think history might still be in there. I changed up those a little bit because then it can kind of cover all the bases there, and we added technology. Yeah, so I think that covers that question. I think.
Yeah.
And we kind of touched on this already, but what would you say some of the core differences between Capes and Crooks and D&D is?
The one thing I think is one of the biggest difference is the way we handle at-will powers and enhancements. Let me go find the section of superpowers here. So there's there's several classification of powers, right? You have an at-will, which is at-will that's something you can use repeatedly, similar to making an attack or a cantrip. Then you have superpowers, which line up closer to D&D's 5th edition spells, where you have a limited number of power slots and they drain out, and you have to rest before you can get them back. But those rests, we changed the short rest time from an hour to basically 5 minutes. So all your powers basically come back between every encounter. And recharge quickly so you can use them more often. But that also means you're limited to how many you can use in one combat scenario. Did you guys find that too restrictive at all, or was that a good balance?
No, not at all. I thought it worked just fine. Yeah. I mean, it pretty much allowed me to kind of just keep blowing through my powers every encounter. Because I was just like, well, I just need 5 minutes, right? That's easy.
Right.
I can... Like, we literally are in a taxi cab. That's 5 minutes. You already have your powers back now. Like, it comes back far quicker than you would ever get in a normal D&D game, I would think. Or rather, that's how it feels. But that also means that because you're taking those short rests, nonstop. You do run into the issue of, I have no hit dice if I wanted to use them because I was dumb and tried to use them all day today. I have been a little too overzealous, that kind of thing. But, I mean, if you're getting your powers nonstop back and you have people with, like, cure wounds or something, like, you feel pretty powerful.
and that's the goal, right? And actually, somebody did mention that. Albert says that does sound OP. And it's balanced in a way that, yes, we offset that because, if the players can do it, the monsters can do it, and I'm sure Ian said that in comment somewhere. The other thing that's worth noting is we've changed some of the monsters, too. We've introduced cronies and henchmen. Cronies that go down in 1 hit, and henchmen that go down in 2 hit, regardless of how much damage they receive. That kind of offsets the fact that they're powerful, because I can just throw waves and waves of these foot at them, or the hand, or whoever comic book make-believe group of enemies are you want to throw at them, the cronies, right? And I think that kind of deals with the fact that they have more frequent and more powerful abilities. What did you guys think about those?
About, like, the cronies, or about...
the cronies and the henchmen.
I was definitely okay with that, because it's kind of fun when you can take out an enemy in one shot, period.
Yeah, it's also just a lot, like... keeps combat fluid. You're just kind of mowing down through hordes of regular people because, well, they are regular people and you are a super powered, mutant. But it also means that the DM doesn't have to keep track of health. They can just be like, oh, they got hit. Yeah, he's gone. He's out.
That certainly made it easier for me. And of course, obviously, the bosses all have hit points and everything, just like every other monster. But it also allowed me to reward the player for coming up with creative ideas. Like if Ian goes out of his way to angle so he can capture a whole bunch of them, well, then they're all going to go down. And that's definitely one way we dealt with the power creep that's present in recharging your powers after a 5-minute rest. Now, the other thing that we changed was the at-will powers. The at-will powers, one thing 5e did really well was cantrips for spellcasters. But what I didn't like is that they don't change over time. A firebolt at first level is the exact same at 20th level, just with more power. So what we decided to do is have the powers evolve and change over time. because heroes, they learn to change the way they use their powers and get more creative with them as they get better at them. And so I wanted to find a way to make that kind of come through. So we'll use an example that everyone probably knows. We have acid blast here, which is acid splash. Maybe I don't remember what the original was, but so
like
it's
that.
it starts off as the basic cantrip, which does make a ranged power attack against the creature to assail it with its flesh with melting acid. On a hit, it takes 1d8 acid damage, and the target can't regain hit points until the start of your next turn. Until then, acid drips from the target. So that's all it does when you first pick it up. That's not a big deal. It doesn't do a whole lot. It just does a little damage. You can cast it at will, whether it's shooting out of your eyes, you're shooting it out of a gun, out of your hands, out of your ass, whatever you decide as the player. Once you hit 5th level, though, on a hit, the target suffers the effects of the lingering acid. Remember, it said the acid drips from the target. At the start of each of the target's turn, it takes 1d6 acid damage. The target can make a con saving throw at the end of each of its turns to end the effect, or somebody can use a healing kit or a medicine check to end it as well. So now it went from just doing straight on damage to now doing damage over time. So as you hit multiple targets, they begin to seep and melt away, basically. And that's kind of what I wanted to go with. But now by 17th level, it changes even more. Well, at 11th level, it gets more damage and the area becomes bigger. That it can eat through up to 10 foot of metal. And then at 17th level, it does 3d8. But now the target has disadvantage on their next attack roll. So anybody you hit with it now takes damage and has disadvantage on their attacks. So the power evolves and changes as they get stronger. What did you guys think about that kind of core mechanic feature?
Currently speaking, I liked it because, as you kind of pointed out, the damage cantrips by base in 5th edition, yeah, they scale in regards to damage, but that's it. And the non-combat cantrips don't change at all.
Nope, it doesn't matter how masterful you are with your power.
Yeah.
Yep.
I do think it is nice that this is addressed, if you will, to have those non-combat abilities scale as well.
Yeah. Another really good example is Firebolt, right? Firebolt. What's the difference between heat vision and Firebolt and a laser gun? Not a whole hell of a lot. So we've got Heat Ray, which basically does 1d10 fire damage and lights things on fire. And at 5th level, it increases to 2d10, just like Firebolt would. But when a hostile creature movement provokes an opportunity attack from you, you can use your reaction to activate this power rather than making a regular opportunity attack. So now, this one specifically lets you use it as a reaction, which means you might be able to get it off more often than that. And then at the level cap, it now scores crits on 19s and 20s, because, heat does more damage, right? So that's kind of what we went, and honestly, keep in mind, these are still playtests, and they can be changed over time, but the goal is to make the powers change and evolve with the heroes. That's really what we wanted. And that's true for all of the at-wills. So I think the last thing to touch on as far as what are the core differences would be the enhancements, I think. Ian, do you want to tell people what the enhancements are?
Basically, they're feats with more steps, but that's kind of watering it down, but that's kind of like the shorthand version of what they are, but...
Kinda. Yeah.
They're like mini feats, I would say.
Steps.
I would say they're mini feats.
Because they all kind of do a small thing.
But they kind of like move over like past features that we may have saw from like 5th edition, and make them an option that anybody can pick.
Yeah, and
which I call a win.
Yeah, and that's definitely something. And a lot of them are more passive than your at-wills or your superpowers. So
they really are just like a bunch of passives. That's a really good way to put it. Not a lot of them actively do something really. Some of them do, but most oftentimes not really.
Yeah. Some good examples of the Brilliant Mind enhancement. Says you are imbued with extraordinary quick intelligence. You get a +2 bonus to intelligence saving throws. Not a big deal unless that's your dump stat. Then that might be worth taking because you might need it. Some of the other ones, like Covering Fire. This is a really cool one. If you hit an enemy with a ranged attack, you can inflict half damage, and one ally within 10 feet of you can use a reaction to disengage and move up to half its movement speed. So that's actually an active one that's not passive, that basically is designed for somebody that wants to play a more supporty role. If you're looking for more damage amplification, you can get Agonizing Blast. It's not the same as the way it's described in the 5e game. Instead, when you make a ranged power attack, you add a d4 to the damage it deals. That's it. And that's a lot.
It is a lot.
Too, that you made extra attack enhancement.
Yes. So if that was certainly a trade-off. So there are some classes in 5e that just naturally get the extra attack. If you want to build a character that works with weapons or does a lot of punching outside of the speedster, you need to pick up extra attack as an enhancement. So what that does is it basically takes up one of your enhancement slots to be able to do that. But anybody can do it if they want. That was the only way I could find to balance the mixing of powers in offensive combat, right? And some of these are pretty familiar. You got the dueling fighting style, expertise, force armor, which is basically access to mage armor at will, which is nice. Some of the things that I think were really fun were the like the infiltrator. You gain adept point you gain proficiency in deception and stealth skills, and you get 3 adept points. And whenever you make a deception or stealth, you can spend a point to roll a d6 and add it to the result. And then you recover your adept points at the end of a long rest. You guys took those quite a bit. What did you think about that?
I didn't use them in this game, but we did use these in a homebrew rules though for our other Friday game, and I enjoyed them quite a bit.
I mean, I definitely used them in this one. We're talking about the adept point dice, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I thought they were crazy because, like, one, I gained proficiency in both of them, which is awesome. I was just like, oh, I like these 2 skills, and I'm not proficient in either of them. I am now currently proficient, and I gain adept points, which I get to roll an extra die, pretty much, an extra d6. But I mean, a d6 can change the failure to a success.
Yep.
Almost at any point. So I mean, and now that you're proficient with it, like, even the proficiency alone is so good, and being able to, like, kind of stack on top of that's even better.
Right.
So
right.
I thoroughly enjoyed that because, like, my character really wasn't stealthy too much, but I took like a I forgot what it was, but regardless, I took like one of these, and like it gave me like deception and stealth, so I was just like, yeah, great, now I can infiltrate anywhere even though I never intentionally built it. Cool.
I still find it hilarious that with my dump stat, I still had to bluff and deceive my way through a crap ton of things.
And you did
somehow succeeded.
You still did a good job. That's the way the dice go. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right, who's got that next one there?
I think that's me. What were some of the design challenges of this? What do you think?
Trying to ensure that I scale. Well, first of all, making sure there was plenty of options. One of the things that I wanted to target was I wanted it to be you to be able to build the hero that you want. And so I had to find a way to make sure that those options are available without imbalancing the game. Luckily, 5e gives me a lot of good templates, but I'm still in the process of balancing some of the at-wills. The at-wills are probably the hardest because I want them to do more than they already do. And so I end up having to compare a 17th level at willpower with, like, well, how much could the fighter do if he just punched a bunch using in normal 5e. So if I have a fighter at level 20 or 17, how much damage would he do in all attacks? What are the chances to hitting? And so making sure I get those balance right is certainly something that I have to play more with. The rest of it came pretty easy. I used the Warlock as a template because it has invocations and gets its powers back on a short rest. So that gave me really good jumping off points. But the hardest part really is getting the wording right, because Wizards of the Coast has very specific verbiage that they use, but sometimes they're even inconsistent in their own writing. So that was certainly one of the harder things. I spent a lot of time going through books looking for verbiage that was similar to ensure that I got it as close or matching correctly as I could. That was definitely one of the bigger things. The other challenge that I ran into is how to ensure that I make the rules different enough without imbalancing those, because I'm using the same progression. wherever it's at here, the same progression tree for all of them. So I needed to make sure that there was enough options that going down the same tree didn't really seem like it was funneling you into a certain roll.
Right.
But that was probably one of the more difficult things. But I managed to do all right with it, I think. I guess we'll know when we get a group to level 20, I suppose. But
Right. I don't think they ever play tested level 20.
Right.
I'm gonna be honest.
no,
I don't think Wizards of the Coast ever did. No, I'm saying like Wizards of the Coast in their own 5th edition game. I don't think they ever play tested level 20. I think they were like, this looks strong. It's good.
So
I mean, considering what players do at lower levels, it's like, how do you balance out the higher levels?
I don't know, dude.
yeah, it requires just gameplay. I think is the only way to really do it.
Yeah, I mean, I can give you an example right now, but I'll save that for the DM tip.
Okay, that's good. We do have a question that says, say I take one of those adept enhancements. What if I'm already proficient? Then you'll get an adept die. It doesn't add anything else. So when you're designing your character,
You should have chose something different.
well,
That's
yeah,
what you should have done.
if you're designing your character and you know that's what you want to focus on, then that case taking the expertise enhancement might be better for you. Because then it'll double your proficiency bonus, which is better. It's not is better than like a rolling an extra d6, but it's going to average out more frequently and be better in the long run. Because if you take the expertise at level 20, you're going to have a plus 12 to whatever it is you're rolling. Versus a plus 6 and an extra d6. So early on, the expertise won't seem like it's as strong, but by the time you get to where you're averaging over 4, like at level 9, I think is when you get a proficiency of 4, then I feel like the expertise is just going to be a better option. But that's up to the player to decide as they go. You can change out your enhancements whenever you want if at the DM's discretion, right? So, all right.
We kind of touched on this a little bit, but obviously there were some design challenges you came across. What are some other ways, aside from what you already mentioned, that you overcame these challenges?
I had to do a lot of Googling. I had to open a lot of books and compare a lot of things that already existed because I'm a newer designer. I mean, I've been doing it for a couple years now, but there are people who've been doing it a lot longer than me. Dan Dillon, Wolfgang Bauer, Chris Perkins. All the stuff that they've written allows me to compare, okay, here's what they did in these sorts of situations. I can probably try to emulate that to make sure that everything is within where it needs to be and functional. The one thing that really helped me out more than anything is I have the book series by Kobold Press called the Guide to Game Mastering, and there's also one that's Guide to Adventure Design and Game Design, and that really helped ensure that I have a good balance. So if you're looking to do that sort of thing, I can't recommend those books enough. Wolfgang Bauer and all the writers involved in those did a phenomenal job allowing me to take on those challenges.
Yep.
What do you see for Capes and Crooks in the long run?
Oh God, dude, I would love for it to be successful enough that that's all I write for.
It'd be great, but
I think that in my mind, obviously our Kickstarter is coming up on June 29th. After it's kickstarted, I hope that it becomes popular enough that people want more content. They want more missions/adventures. They want more role books. They want more at wills. They want more, they want more power so that I can continue to publish and create more content for this game that I've, put together and designed. And that would honestly be phenomenal. If it goes that far, that would be great. I don't know how big exactly the superhero genre is as far as the audience out there, but I know there's many people that grew up with comic books, and being able to relive and play as their favorite superheroes is certainly something I can find see being appealing. So it's super exciting. That's what I hope. It would be great. But that's all based on the audience. So.
Of course.
I think that's gonna cover for this 5th edition superhero edition game for D&D. Do you have any? Do we have anything else that you kind of can think of, Ian, or not too much?
Nope, and we're already running pretty tight in time, so.
Alrighty
That's
then.
true.
Well, how about this? We'll drop this recording really quick.
It's a really good video.
Yeah, I enjoy it. That'll do it for our main topic, Capes and Crooks, Superheroes in 5th Edition D&D. If there's something you would like to see in Capes and Crooks that wasn't mentioned, please let us know. We're always welcoming new and fun ideas. I'm super excited. I did finish writing the first adventure that'll come with the Kickstarter, so I'm super excited for that. If you don't know, we actually recently also released Whitaker's Well of Magic Items. It's now available in softcover and easy D100 table to randomly generate magic items for your 5th edition of Dungeons & Dragons. Softcover available now at criticami.com/critstore. Definitely check it out. That's one of our hot sellers right now. So,
Yeah. All right, and first off, to kick off our YouTube
And now,
series, we got our
what
character
you've all been
concept.
waiting for. Our
We're in
Unearthed
Divorce.
Tips and Tricks segment, where we bring you new
This
and
fat southern man
reusable
with a
material
bulbous nose
for both
dressing
players
just
and
in,
DMs.
well-wearing tan shirts, loose pants, and blazers most of the time. Dream combo. His skin has an also naturally pale complexion to it. He's fiercely devoted to his mother and views his mom's ex-spouse as an evil person for separating them from his legal half-sister. And personality-wise, while he can be a bit rude and blunt, he does have a softer side to him. He is consumed with his love of poetry. He constantly tries to fill his life with it. He is fiercely devoted to his mom and views his... Oh, I think I skipped over some text here. Dang, you have a sleep brain. Alright, history.
Did you?
He was born to a pair of big game hunters, but was frequently ill as a child. He found a children's book about a half-elf expert who fought for good and justice. Never realized it was just a children's story. About his life after this story, seeing himself destined to be a hero. Guards a vault combo. Yeah, guards a vault combo very seriously as well as the key to open it. His motivation is to unite with his sister and has a need for knowledge about a particular landmark of interest. I'm not gonna lie though, between the combination of being a southern man and rude and blunt, my first thought was like a foghorn leghorn kind of personality. Ma'am, I know that you think the world of your child there, but that boy be about as sharp as a bowling ball.
That's a fun character concept. Straight into the to the point. I really like that. I like the motivation too to reunite. That's always something that is interesting and appealing to me, because they're venturing out to find a person, not necessarily a treasure, which I think brings more character. So, you have anything?
Feels a little more grounded, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah,
Feels a little more real.
for
So
sure.
I can agree with that. Yeah, this guy, character really is kind of straight and simple to the point. Very, very easygoing kind of man who's just like, yeah, well, trying to get to my sister here.
That also makes me feel like they would take less risks too. Like, yeah, I'm not walking across that bridge. Looks like it's about to fall apart. Somebody better grab a rope and tie it. When you get to the other end, I'll climb across.
Right.
All right, I think that'll do it for our character concept. Our monster of the podcast is the MANADRAX. Ooh, I like this one. So for the MANADRAX, you're going to start with the stat block of the giant rat. Yes, I know, it doesn't sound very interesting. But I promise, Devour Mana is an awesome new feature. When it makes a melee attack, dealing 1d4 plus 2 damage, if the target is a creature with spellcasting, it must succeed on a DC 10 Constitution saving throw, or its highest level spell slot is drained away. Additionally, the creature contracts a disease. Oh shit. Until the disease is cured, the target can't regain hit points or spell slots, except by magical means, and the target's hit point maximum decreases by 3 every 24 hours. If the target's maximum drops to 0 as a result of the disease, the target dies, and a new MANADRAX is created in its place. What do you guys think about that?
I better if I remove curse pretty dang fast.
Well,
Paladins are thankfully are
a thing.
resistant against diseases. However, the common man spawning more of these things will be an issue. This will just let loose in a village. There's gonna be so many of these things.
Well, and it's so cool because it can, you can basically have an entire village under attack, and they chase it back to another village that just all became these things. Like a little, you know, a wizard walked in town that was infected with it and done spread it to everyone else, the bastard.
Yeah.
That's pretty
love
cool.
it.
I like that. I could see this definitely used more against, like, for story purposes rather than like actual combat against the players, because like it's relatively speaking it's kind of on the weaker side, so it wouldn't
Yeah, it goes down pretty quick.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it'd be too dangerous to them. However, of course, with more of these things, I mean, that can easily change, but I don't know. Yeah, I can see that.
Oh, Andrew's making a monster like this called Faith Stealer, where it removes spell slots from clerics or paladins. I love it!
That's a good one.
I think that'll do it for our monster variant, the MANADRAX.
Cool. And our encounter of the podcast is Bomb Device Diffusal. When running the bomb defusal, make sure to describe in great detail the fear and panic on the hostages' faces. Choose one of the hostages in advance or at random to be the bomber. This hostage should be notably behind cover, such as a pillar or heavy desk, to protect herself or himself from any explosions. If the bomb is disarmed, success or failure has the character who disarmed it make a DC 19 investigation or technology check after the bomb defusal. On a success, they learn that the bomb attached wasn't actually designed to go off. This may clue the characters in as they disarm bombs to the truth of this hostage's charade. We went through this as the playtests, and we had failed significantly, but we can gotta go step by step on how it was done. So step one, first thing during this process is to roll 5d6 dice on the table in front of the player doing the defusing. Inform them that each die represents a circuit or wire in the device. Inform the player that one of the following sequences is needed to defuse the bomb successfully. Only odd, the player must remove all the even numbered dice from the 5d6s. Only even, the player must remove all odd numbered dice from the 5d6s. Low to high, so the player must arrange the 5d6 dice from smallest to largest, or high to low, which is the opposite. So step 2, the overseer secretly writes down the correct option from the 4 above, either by choosing or rolling a d4 and determining it randomly. Now step 3, on the character's turn, they can use their action to roll an investigation tech check. The result determines what they know about the proper sequence to defuse the bomb. So we're going to go into a little bit of what the rolls determine. So if it's 6 or less, the character has no idea how these bombs are built or function. They are pretty much dead to rights. 7 to 11, the player may ask what rolled number belongs in the first position. 12 through 16, the player may ask about what rolled number belongs in the first 2 positions. 17 through 20 is 3 positions. 21 through 25 is the first 4 positions. And if somehow they do a 26 or higher, they just know the correct order and they can say roll or high to low, low to high, so on and so forth. Step 4, the player then may use a bonus action to attempt to disarm the bomb. If the guess is correct, the bomb is defused. If they guess wrong, well, everyone probably dies.
Boom.
Probably.
What did you guys think about this? I think actually Seth was the one that did the majority of the
Yeah,
bomb
Seth
defusal
did
stuff.
do the bomb defusing. It was horrifying, because as the guy who is not doing the bomb defusing, you are putting your life in front of this man's hands right here, saying, hey, don't let that bomb go off, please. And you really hope that the bomb doesn't go off. As you're trying to usher hostages out, if you're like, hey guys, we need to get going, we gotta go now.
And you can change this up too. You can easily say that a wizard has placed Glyph of Warding with an explosion rune on it, and these aren't wires; they're arcane sigils that they and use just Arcana check, right?
Yeah.
So this is
You can definitely, I was gonna say, you could definitely reflavor this to be into a more in line with a fantasy, medieval fantasy D&D genre.
right. What did you think about this, Ian?
I like the fact that this challenge, you can run it as is multiple times, but get different results every time, figuratively speaking.
Right. Which is,
Yes.
is
There's
a
a lot of
lot of fun.
flexibility.
Yeah, and that's the goal of it. I thought this was really fun. I totally did not write this. I found this on the internet, and it really tickled my dice. So it is
was very
included.
good.
It's included in our Capes and Crooks backer playtest in the adventure that's there. So, all right, that'll do it for our encounter. The bomb device diffusal.
I really like this magic item.
Do you?
I do.
It's a good one. Our magic
It is a
item
very good one.
is the Demon Scale Mail. Also, it's scale mail, it's covered in the name, but it's also very rare because of attunement. It's made of like piecemeal skins, scales, and exoskeletons of demons. It forms a frightful but sturdy suit of scale armor. While wearing it, you gain the following benefits. You gain an additional +1 to your armor class on top of what you would already get. You're immune to poison damage. You have advantage on saving throws against being frightened. And last, but definitely not least, in action, you can speak the armor's command word. Each non-undead creature within 60 feet of you succeed on a DC 14 Wisdom saving throw or be frightened for 1 minute. And if they fail by 5 or more, the target also ages 1d4 plus 10
I forgot
years.
about that.
Yeah.
It's a good
Frightened
one.
target can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the condition on itself. If the save is unsuccessful, or the effect ends for it, the target is immune to it for the next 24 hours. Aging effect can't be reversed with a greater restoration spell. Can be reversed with a greater restoration spell, but only within 24 hours of it occurring. This feature cannot be used again until next dawn.
Ooh.
I want to say immediately, hell yeah, I want some demon scale mail. Absolutely. It's the coolest fucking thing ever.
I love the little addition of the growing old. Like
Yeah,
for
it's
like
so
a human or something, that's a big deal. But for an elf's like, well, oh well.
Yeah, it scared the shit out of me, but that'll be okay. Then they look at their hair's falling out a little bit, like, oh my god.
No.
Yeah.
This is a really cool one. I enjoyed this one.
I love okay, so I can just imagine this on like a plethora of my character ideas where I'm just like, oh, this is gonna be so cool. I'm gonna speak my armor, fucking command word, and like a big old thing, like aura thing, like my shadow creeps out from all under me and like starts grabbing at like their legs or something, and then it's like, no, fear me. It's just like, ah,
Fear me, bitches.
I am scared.
Pretty straight
And,
and to the point. I really like it.
I loved it. So good.
That'll do it for our magic item, the Demon Scale Mail.
So our dungeon master tip, because I left the player tip to Justin this time, rearranging the scene when the plan falls apart, because we all need to know how to do that as DMs.
Oh yeah.
So keep in mind that the players probably don't know they've gone off the beaten track. Likely, they will never know. This allows you the opportunity to simply change where the track goes without anyone on the other side of the screen being the wiser. Take the example of the heroes investigating a town overrun by zombies. Your adventure notes, the characters are traveling when they are set upon a group of zombies on the road. In your original conception, the heroes fight and defeat the zombies, then investigate where they came from, leading back to the town and the subsequent encounters. Instead, your players decide that after the zombie attack, the best thing to do is to forge ahead as quickly as possible, not investigating at all, because who needs to do that? There's zombies running around. Instead of having the zombie-ridden town some distance off in the road, you might decide to put it right in the hero's path, just kind of expediting the process a little bit. So the road intersects with it, with no immediate signs of the zombies until they enter the town. Players don't know they were supposed to follow up leads from the prior encounter, and they don't need to know. you can just be shh about it. It's fine. A clue you intended to have on the body of one of the zombies could not be found in one of the buildings in the town, or one of the zombies in town has it instead. Now, the players might decide the priority is not finding out where the zombies came from, but rather informing nearby authorities of the existence of the fact that there are zombies running around. This choice might also lead them right into the zombie-afflicted area, or it could be an opportunity for a quick diversionary scene where the heroes meet with the authorities, who then ask the player characters to investigate, sending them right back into the correct direction with newfound purpose. Now, as with most of these techniques, the trick is rearranging the scene in such a way that is invisible to the players that anything has changed. Don't tell the players what their characters should have done at a given juncture. Just treat every decision as a given and move forward with it. Don't negate things the players have decided, add to them and build upon them. Use statements like yes, but, or and yes, and, or versions thereof in response of unexpected player decisions. We are going, and is a quote, we are going to make sure to burn the remains of the zombies and then get to the next town to warn them as quickly as possible. Okay, but when you arrive in town, there are zombies there.
Yeah.
Who would have guessed?
And I'll say totally different, but the first thing I thought about when I read just the main tell for this tip was about how my Monday game, players encounter a dragon turtle, which is normally a CR-17 creature, although they skipped on its health, so it's a CR-12. The opening move was Steam Breath, which, let me see, the Raging Barbarian completely tanked it because he made his save. Fire failed to save, got about 2/3 of his health knocked out in one shot. Sorcerer just got KO'd. No. The Sorcerer got KO'd, and the Bard was sitting there white as a sheet because he's at the very edge of the cone.
Lucky.
And then the Bard then cast Polymorph on it, turned into a regular turtle, picked him up to a cave tunnel, yeeted it down there as far as they could, and turned off Polymorph.
He gets stuck in there?
The thing, the tunnel was 10 feet wide. Dragon turtles are 20 feet wide.
Did it die? What happened?
I'm like,
I need a minute.
cover this at all.
Oh, very cool.
Like, I guess it's dead.
I guess. I don't know what to do.
I love the idea of it just being stuck there. And then the tide comes in and fills it with stuff for him to eat. And he just stuck there indefinitely. It is worth noting this tip came from Kobold Guide to Game Mastering, one of the books I mentioned earlier.
Yes. I also kind of want to say, like, this might sound like railroading, right? Because you're like, well, then you're not really giving them a choice. That's not true. They had the choice. You're just rearranging the tracks a little bit. And it makes their decisions feel like they're still making those decisions. And, I mean, honestly, if you're like a DM who can think on the fly, then, I mean, you're already probably well versed in this, and this tip probably doesn't mean much to you, to be honest, because you already are probably making the building blocks in case, like, oh, they made a left instead of right. Well, I had stuff planned for the left anyway, so I guess you guys will just go there now, like that kind of thing.
Right.
You already do this on some level anyway without even realizing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of this. It really spoke to me. That's why it's in here.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, that'll do it for our Dungeon Master tip. Our player tip of the podcast is don't be a dick. And you can avoid dickitude by being the artful dodger. I like this one. Consider yourself knowledgeable in city landscapes, do you? Then prove it. This technique exploits the Urchin's City Secrets feature and their knowledge of the urban environment by effectively quadrupling the speed and increasing the stealth of the entire party. There is no better or faster way to sneak through a city. By exploring the benefit of the Urchin's ability to lead their party, effectively using their own speed as the entire party's speed. The time it takes to go from one destination to another in a city is halved and then halved again with the aid of haste. So long, this along with the plus 10 bonus to dexterity stealth checks from Pass Without Trace can effectively make the entire party nearly invisible. So, this comes from Big B's Handbook of Creative Spell Uses. The first thing you're going to do, cast Pass Without a Trace. Then you're going to cast Haste on the Urchin. Then, move quickly and quietly to your destination. Because
It's like it's like a bullet train, but it's made of human.
yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
You are a human bullet train for your urchin, except they're not backpacking you or anything. It's just somehow the game works this way. We don't ask questions.
Yeah, they know all the shortcuts, so they're in. That applies when they, do anything else that increases their speed too. So, if you got boots of speed or anything else like that, cast Expeditious Retreat, I think is what it's called. All those things. That is all applied to the urchin, then gets passed to with its feature gets passed to all the party, and holy crap, it becomes a highway to hell. Anyway.
Just picture it like you're trying to like beat like the beat a villain to a location. Can't you guys get here so fast? We parkoured our way over here.
We parkoured our way over here.
I love it.
I jumped through so many rooftops, you have no idea. I teleported. I know.
All right, that'll do it for our player tip of the podcast. Don't be a dick. You can avoid dickitude by being an artful dodger. That'll do it for our show today. Before we close out, we have another gift to give away. Compliments of our generous sponsor.
Hey. And our fat loot giveaway for this time around is A Cursed Journal by Book Brew Games. A source book containing 3 brand new classes. Knight, Elementalists, and Monstral. 12 additional subclasses, new spells, items,
And so much
and more.
Yeah, there's some good
One
shit in
today
there.
is Pressure Floors.
Woo!
Not a problem. Head over to
What a name.
crickgaming.com, subscribe for your chance to win, and check out our items that we give away for free as is.
Yeah, for sure. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Like I said, hopefully you'll come and join us for our Capes and Crooks Kickstarter on day 1. It really helps the algorithm. It cares more about number of backers than money. So even if you're willing to drop just $1 to support our Kickstarter, please do on the 29th. We'd appreciate it. Please join us on our next episode where we'll be joined by the awesome, the mythical, the legendary Dungeon Dudes. I'm super
I can't
excited
believe
to
it's
have Kelly and Monty on. So we're going to talk to them about their Homebrew World campaign, the Dungeons and Drakenheim campaign, as well as the fact that they're releasing a Kickstarter coming up soon that takes place in their campaign, includes all their campaign stuff. So we're super excited for that. It was hard not to nerd out when I was talking to them. So
I think they're actually one of the few D&D YouTubers I follow on some semi-regular basis. So that should tell you something right there.
Yep, me too. I got you. All right.
If you enjoy the show and you want to support us, though, I mean, obviously head over. That means more to us right now than anything, really. But if you don't want to do that because you're a slouch, we can always visit us at critacademy.com, where we have all of our, stuff there. We have our social media, such as Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and YouTube. Please go to our YouTube. We like it there. And
Absolutely.
leave us a review on iTunes, because if you don't, I'll personally come to your house and slap you. Thank you. That's our segment today.
You're so scrawny, it'd be more like a gust of wind. Well, I am your host, Justin.
I'm your co-host, Austin.
I'm your co-host, Dan. Thanks for listening.
Keep your blade sharp and spells prepared, heroes.